Well, it's now truly an honor for me to introduce somebody who needs no introduction, not least because of the number of slides he has appeared on during the talks today in Earth Optimism. I'd like to introduce Sir David Attenborough, who's done more than anybody to bring the wonders of the natural world and our planet into everybody's lives. And by doing so, convincing us why we should all do something for nature. And I'd like to invite Sir David to share his thoughts on why we should be optimistic. Thank you very much, Sir David.
Thank you. Today is Earth Optimism Day. Quite right, too. We've heard marvelous stories of heartwarming successes. Splendid. And if I may say so, Tony Martin, that pictures of South Georgia and what you did for those rats, that warmed my heart. Okay, let me indulge myself and just add one further glorious piece of optimism, as far as I'm concerned. Happened only 2 days ago. 60 years ago, I went to Borneo for the first time, and I traveled down a river called the Kinabatangan in northeast Borneo, in Sabah. And it was a revelation. I'd never been to the Southeast Asia before, and I saw fantastic animals. Orangutan, proboscis monkeys. One of the great thrills of that trip were pygmy Borneo elephants, which I didn't see, but we went into very thick forest, and we found a rock buried in the vegetation. And I sat on the rock, and in this thick forest, I could hear forest elephants. And they came right down below me, and I could hear the snuffly noises. I could even, perhaps this is my imagination, but I truly think I could hear them, the indigestion, the doing stuff. Memorable, fantastic. And I went back to Borneo a year ago, 18 months ago, and I went back to the Kinabatangan River. And I went down the river, and there was the rainforest on the side of the banks. But it wasn't quite what I remembered. There are often 8 species of hornbills, for example, in Borneo. And although I can't swear that I saw all 8 of them 60 years ago, I did see several. But this rainforest was a bit impoverished. And the day after that, we got in a helicopter, and we flew along the Kinabatangan River. And as we rose up in the helicopter, I saw that along the banks, this rainforest was perhaps 50 yards wide, 100 yards wide. Beyond it, a monoculture of palm oil palms, oil palms, just stretching as far as the eye could see in serried, military, sterile ranks. And nothing else in that forest. And that was pretty gloom-making. And what was even more gloom-making was to hear a few months ago that part of that forest which did remain down in the lower reaches of the Kinabatangan was going to be bisected by a huge bridge which would go across the river and bring traffic into that part of Borneo. And I knew in my heart that if that happened, that last patch of Borneo, which still had not yet succumbed to palm oil, it was going to be the end of it. 2 days ago, in London, the chief conservator of forest in Sabah, said to an assembled company that he, leading his government, had decided to abandon the Kinabatangan River bridge. It was marvelous news that a government of Malaysian Borneo had decided to take note of what conservationists were saying around the world and do something about it. That's my good piece of news. And you, as I have today, but not yesterday, you have been hearing other marvelous examples of what is happening. But at the back of my mind, and maybe at the back of your minds, there's a voice which says, yes, but what about climate change? What about rising population? What about the fact that, say, 60 years ago when you were in the Kinabatangan River, there were, compared with that day and today, there are 3 times as many human beings on this planet. What about that? What about the rising sea temperatures that are causing coral reefs to bleach all along the east coast of Australia? What about that? What's the difference? Well, the difference is that what we've been hearing about today and yesterday are the marvelous examples of what individuals, small associations of enthusiasts, in some instances big companies, but essentially small groups of people have been doing, and they're wonderful successes. But the worries that worry me now are the worries that can only be dealt with by international cooperation. No longer just a big company or an enlightened company. No longer just, indeed, one particular administration in the government. This can only be dealt with by people getting together worldwide and agreeing to do something. Now, that's a very rare thing to happen. When has it happened that people worldwide have got together and agreed on anything? It hasn't, except once. 60 years ago, about, the nations, conservationists like you, got together and persuaded people that whales were being exterminated. That people worldwide were sweeping the oceans and with new techniques of devastation and murder were eliminating great marine mammals. And that something had to be done. If we went on plundering those whales, they were going to be exterminated. But no nation could do it by itself. And all the maritime nations did get together. They did agree to do something. And the result was that today, whales are now back in the oceans of the world. So it can be done. The problems that the nations of the world now face, not just in the Indonesian Borneo or South Georgia or wherever, but worldwide, they can only be done by international agreement. That's very hard to achieve. But the United Nations has been doing stuff about it. There have been successes. It looked, a year last Christmas, it looked as though we were getting somewhere, that the nations of the world were beginning to see sense. They were getting together. They were going to agree on a way in which we could curb the outputs that are causing the accumulation of greenhouse gases and causing the world temperature to rise. I saw the chief scientist who was coming to the end of his career and who had led a British delegation in these arguments. And I saw the joy on his face when he said to me, "It's through. We are going to get agreements. We have got agreements. It now just has to be put into effect." Well, there's black news coming from the States, because those in power in the States at the moment say that this agreement will be torn up. Will that happen? I don't know. The president has changed his mind on certain things. Maybe he'll change his mind again. If he doesn't, we keep at it. If he doesn't, the conservationists whose work you have been seeing today, and hundreds, thousands more like them, will stick to the problem, will stick to the solution, will keep at it, will make us certain that the greatest treasure that the world has is its natural world, in all its diversity, in all its glory. We will keep at it, and we will tell our politicians that we require it. Am I optimistic? I'm optimistic because of children. I see a lot of children. Children write to me. I hear a lot from children. And it's my impression that over the last 60 or 70 years, the children of this world have become aware of what is happening and have become unquestionably supportive of the knowledge and the faith that the natural world is their inheritance and it's there for hand on to their children. I hope that is true, because those children are the people who have been doing the sort of work when their time comes that you have all been doing, on this Earth Optimism Day. I pray that that may be so, and that the young people that are coming up, this next generation and the generation after that, will come around our international agreement and understand that it's no longer the problem of a small group of people, of dedicated enthusiasts, of skilled people. It is to the interests of humanity that we come together and we sink our individual differences and we make this the planet not only for ourselves, but for everything alive today. Thank you.